Hi, I'm Joshua Brewster.
Hi, I'm Ethan Brewster.
And the fun fact that we have discovered is that we are all Brewsters.
Yeah,
No formal relation, maybe distantly related, but we all, yeah. Okay, so I am curious, how did you guys end up hearing about mind change or getting connected to it?
Our mom.
Yeah?
She was very passionate about mind change.
Okay.
And we went to Hawaii one time and just got introduced to a couple people that made mind change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then she just would constantly say, "Oh, mind change, oop, mind change."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of stuck in our head.
Yeah.
It was kind of annoying at first, but because I just be like, oh, I don't want to do the dishes, and then my mom would be like, oh, you get to do the dishes. Like, you gotta change those. And I was like, okay, mom.
Yeah.
I know that the quality of your thoughts affects the way of your life. So like,
Yeah.
and seeing how it changed her, and then my brother got into it.
Yeah.
I was like, why not learn more tools to affect my thoughts about life?
Yeah,
So,
that's really cool. Oh, you said you noticed things change with your mom. What was that like?
She was more positive, I think,
Yeah.
and she actually became more patient with us. I don't know like personally how it is to deal with kids, but I know it's a lot. So just like her being patient and like being able to deal with us, I think at times is like, that's great, you know.
Yeah.
So I think
Totally.
just that, and she would just actually give like good advice too. Like there would be things affecting me, and then she would say something, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I'll consider that, and then I would do it, and it would be working.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe this isn't some crazy thing that
Right.
she's talking about, you know. So
Yeah, that's really cool.
But not just like he said, she became more patient. But I feel like I grew a lot closer to her too.
Really?
Like, I don't know, our conversations became more deep.
Yeah.
And she went through a really tough situation, and that was like the strongest I've ever seen her in that moment. So when I saw how strong she was in a very tough situation,
Yeah.
that was the thing that kind of inspired me to like go to mind change,
Yeah.
because I went through a tough situation,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, the idea just popped in. I was like, but because I don't
Yeah.
know, it was very powerful, and I saw that she used a lot of tools that she learned from mind change
Yeah.
in that moment. But yeah, that's very much.
That's really cool. When you say you got involved, what did you like read the book? Did you do a course? Did you do sessions? Or like how did you?
It started off with just like us talking about it.
Yeah.
And then I started reading it.
Okay.
And then I had a session, and then I started working on it by myself.
That's
so,
really cool.
yeah.
Okay, when you were reading the book, or even when mom was like talking about it with you, did you have any moments where you were like, wait,
Yes.
what?
Yeah.
Do you remember what any of those were?
I had a lot of doubt in the beginning.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know, I knew that the mind is very strong and you can accomplish a lot.
Yeah.
But what was worrying me was just how much she was saying, like, oh, you can mind change that. Oh, you can mind change that. So, like, I didn't 100% like believe in it.
Yeah.
But for it to like work, you actually have to believe in it 100%.
Right.
So.
Oh, like do it, right?
Or
It's not
do
just
it,
like
yeah.
the idea of
Yeah.
oh, I conceptually think that might be true, but like the believing is the let me test this out and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so you'd heard a lot about from your mom, but you saw the change in her and getting closer and just more conversations. And you said that you went through a tough situation. You decided to do a session. What was that like? What was it like? How things were before, and then what was the session like, and what happened after?
So before, I just wasn't doing well physically in general. That was the first thing I noticed. I just wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. My body was just kind of shutting down, and then my mind, like my whole mindset and everything was just like all jumbled up and whack. I just couldn't really have a grasp on like an actual thought sometimes.
Totally.
And then spiritually, I just was doing like horrible.
Yeah.
So all three of those taken play together.
Yeah.
So after my first session, the physical changes were the first thing that I noticed.
Yeah.
I was able to sleep. I was able to finally eat.
Yeah.
I just felt healthier in general, and then my mind started like, because of mind change, you know, my mind started like, but that was like the first thing that started to help. But then like spiritually, I just became like, I don't know, I got into my Bible more, and I felt like I was getting closer to people.
Yeah.
On a deeper level.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a big change just after the first session, and then after the other two, I just felt a lot better in general from the very beginning. But yeah.
Yeah. You said you noticed like not even having to work at it, but like your thoughts kind of changed automatically.
Yeah. After just the first session. So.
That's really cool. What kind of things did you find that you started thinking about?
I had a very negative mindset on, I guess, life in general. It was just like, there were tiny things that I just had like a negative mindset on. they just switched to like, like I can see something good in this situation.
Yeah.
For example, like at work, I would have like a very tough time with certain coworkers,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would switch it like, this is an opportunity for me to grow in this. I'm getting stronger in this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I just saw like little positive changes just from that. But yeah.
That's really cool. What about for you, Joshua?
I think for me is that I knew the power of like mental strength, mental fortitude.
Yeah.
So like in sports, I thought it would be very helpful, and even like in life. But for me, I would always like to beat myself about stuff, like just in general. And I learned that I set up these files. We talk about neuropathways a lot in Mind Change. Yeah. So I would open up these files with these like mistakes. So like I would be positive all throughout, and then I make one tiny mistake, and then I would open that up. So learning to go back and change those files. So that's what we were talking about with going back to your childhood, and just like learning that these are okay, and you know, so like sometimes these things are human, you know, and just like working on that, and like forgiving yourself with things and just moving past it. I think just it helped a lot, because now I could pattern interrupt whatever's bothering me, and like I'm using like keywords.
Look at you with the lingo.
But like just pattern interrupt things like that would bring me back to those old files, and just building up those new files. And the one thing I learned too is that you have to keep working on it. I know people say you build those patterns in 2 weeks, but those patterns can go away in 2 weeks as well. Right. So you just got to keep going for it. And I think it's still sometimes like a constant battle, but like it's been helping a lot, and I could see that like through tough situations I'm able to breathe and like just move past it, and like just like positive thinking, you know.
Yeah, totally. You guys were talking about how your relationship with your mom changed. How has your relationship with one another changed since like starting to do this kind of work?
Go first on that one if you want.
I think for me, I think it just like thinking more on the grace side. I think like you know, like, oh, he's going through things, he's not trying to do this just to be mean to me, or like trying to do this to just make my life more difficult. So you know, just
Sibling life, I hear you.
And I think I learned to take the good from it, but I realized I was still holding on to some of the bad. So when he would do something again, I'm like, oh, he's just like his old self, you know. But like learning to work through that and be like, oh, I could still gain the stuff that I learned through like the tough love, but also not like be like, oh, he's just the same old Ethan, you know. Yeah. Because sometimes through tough situations, he sometimes accidentally like attacks his loved ones. But yeah, I loved it too, but Kent had to talk to me about it because I wanted to keep holding on to it, because I thought it helped me through life. Like, oh, I got this tough personality, I could be able to deal with everything through this because he did that. But he's like, you didn't have to go through that to become tough. So it was something I personally had to work through, because that's kind of been one of my mottos, like, oh, these tough situations built me to who I am today.
That's so common, and that's a coping strategy that so many of us use, and I really appreciate you speaking to that belief, because it's so cool when you realize, oh, I didn't need this to get the thing, because we end up like holding on to all this negative stuff, thinking that it's what helps us get the positive, and you're like, oh no, I can just take this piece and like let the rest go, and then we end up getting even more and being able to connect with each other more, and that's beautiful. Oh, did you want to say anything? I totally forgot. No, you're good. You're good.
I don't know. For me, I feel like when it came to mind change and all that stuff, I've always like loved my family and my siblings. But like what he was saying, like whenever I went through tough things, I would kind of take it out on my family. So I had to like really learn to do it. Yeah. Well, I was the most comfortable with them.
Totally. That's why.
I was homeschooled, so like I was always with them all the time. So I never meant to like hurt them, but with mind change, it did help me like, you know, stay present in the moment. Like he was talking about, just taking time to pause and breathe. It really did help. With just like my connection with them, I feel like I have gotten a lot closer, especially with my brother. But yeah, I don't know. This a lot has changed since the beginning. But
that's really cool. The amount where both of you just saying that ability to be able to like to pause and to feel like you have a choice in how you move forward, and then the amount of connection that comes from that. Yeah. So you were talking before about how like there was a way that you used to experience things, you used to, like your body used to react in different situations, and then it's different now. What was it like before? What would happen? How you would deal with that? And what's it like now?
So back then when I used to deal with like anxiety or anything, or just like worry, stress, I would tend to just cope with things that I learned from, you know, my peers.
Yeah.
Things that probably weren't the best for me.
Yeah.
I saw a giant shift when I noticed that I did not need that stuff at all. I actually felt stronger without it.
Yeah.
Because my mind was like, oh, you need this stuff to feel better.
Right.
And then I would just notice that when I didn't, I felt better after when I wouldn't even do it. So
yeah.
I don't know how to go.
No, you're good. Yeah. So when you'd, do you find that you get as anxious as you used to?
No, I don't get as anxious as I used to.
Yeah.
Especially, like, I used to get really anxious from school, like with tests and stuff. It doesn't happen to me anymore. I feel like super calm when I'm about to take a test.
Really?
Or when I'm studying. Like, I don't get like anxiety from like the future. I always focus like more on the present now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's really cool. What about you?
I think one thing that I think I brought up before was that like I just replay things a lot.
Yeah.
So learning that I don't have to replay those things like really changed me and just my life in general, I think, and just like gave me a time of peace. Like I think I was just trained that way with sports. Like just after every game you would just replay all the stuff you did wrong and fix it. Yeah. And I accidentally brought that part to life. And in a bad way, where like my value became my performance. Like I would clearly do like perfect on this whole like test or essay, and then I mess up on this one thing, on like a public speaking thing, and then I would be like, man, that was awful. You know, and that would like make just worrying about that would affect my performance and everything. Yeah. So just dealing with that, and also being able to have peace even at the start has changed a lot. So like now not even have to worry about like if I make a mistake, it's fine, just move forward, and like not having to worry about that has helped like tremendously. Yeah. So.
Do you find that now you have more energy like to do other things? Like what do you find that because you're not worrying, what kind of stuff do you end up thinking about instead?
I think positive things. But one thing that's funny that actually helped a lot was like like when we play basketball with the guys, or like during games, I could just play without like getting stressed out. I've been playing actually a lot better too, just like in a bunch of different things, and just with homework and public speaking classes, like I could just do it without like obviously there's sometimes still like I call it exciting like nervousness. Yeah.
Your body's priming for the experience.
And I think just changing like those small words, like, oh, I'm not just like really nervous, like I'm excited nervous, you know, like, I'm ready to get into it. So
that's really cool. What was it like for you working with Kent in session?
It was a fun experience seeing how he would help me go down the little rabbit hole of like my thoughts, the traumas I've dealt with in my past. Like my first session was very powerful because it was about the deaths of like deaths that I dealt with in my life. And just seeing how they affected me in like my present. When he would like do like these little touches and like to pattern interrupt, like that was really cool seeing how my mind would like switch after that. But
it is kind of crazy, right? How it's like it's just you have that interrupt and the mind does it on its own, right? Like how it just starts changing, but then you learn how you can help kind of guide it along.
I think for me it was just I remember seeing like articles and studying because I always knew about the mind. I knew how important it was, and I saw about Buddhist monks how they were such at peace compared to everyone else in the world. And I felt like I want to learn this because people just say oh just breathe, just have better thoughts. I think for me I needed a professional to help me, and then actually talking to Kent, I was like he knows what he's talking about. He gave the advice I actually needed, like it was like what I needed at that time, and I think it just helped a lot. It changed the way I was thinking, just because like people need that professional help, not just like that YouTube video or that random lady.
But now you guys, like you said, you do stuff on your own. Like you're able to work through things on your own. You only did a number of sessions with Kent, right? And now
we both did three.
And now it's like now you know how to breathe that way, and Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys, and you can do pattern interrupts and all that kind of stuff?
The book also helps a lot too,
Yeah.
because it gives a lot of examples like how the mind works and all that stuff. We also have that metanoia method book that you do on your own.
Yeah.
So yeah, that helps a lot too. So.
Cool. Yeah, so you were talking before about being able to do just like a really simple pattern interrupt and then go to your safe haven. What's your, you don't have to give us the details, that's like, I know that's sacred space, but what was it like coming up with a safe haven?
That was fun.
Yeah?
I like thinking about like what made me feel most at peace or most safe. Kent helped me a lot with that. He would talk about like what's your like happiest moment or something like that, and that kind of gave me the creative thinking of like, oh, what is my happiest moment, like, and then that was fun. But pattern interrupts are probably my favorite thing, like to figure out like what made my mind just stop, like and stop going down like those bad thoughts or just like something that just wasn't healthy for me. A lot of like working out and or like something physical would help me like get out of that. Something that was like also like math problems or something like that was that was kind of cool. But yeah,
I'm similar.
Really?
Yeah, I do a lot of like the kinesthetic, a lot of physical, and then I do a lot of like different kind of math stuff to get my mind like fully engaged to help break up a line of thinking. So what about you, Jojo?
It was hard for me at first because like I just always felt safe like finding the one flaw in the area. So when I would find like a place, I'd be like, but then this happened, and like, I saw that. I'm like, well, it was kind of hot during that time or something like that. Just being difficult.
Right.
But Kent came with me and was like, okay, grab all those places. Like mine was camp. So we had a Starlight Devo at camp, and it was just beautiful. It was like everyone's together. Like I felt at peace with all my brothers and sisters, and like. And it just brought all the best times of all those times at camp together. And, like, it really helped me because I felt fully at peace there. And I think just constantly going back to that and, like, reliving those memories sometimes is, like, life's good, you know? Like, you got this. Like, you live for, like, these moments, you know? Like, you gotta pursue those.
And then so combining the pattern interrupts with the safe haven has been really helpful. And breathing, which is a pattern interrupt, right? We talk a lot about that. That's beautiful. What has been, like, in your life, the best thing from Mind Change?
Honestly, the most encouraging and, like, best thing that I've noticed from Mind Change is just seeing the changes that have happened. There's been a lot of positive change in my life. Like I said before, I had a very negative mindset on just, like, life, on myself. But having all those changes, like, writing down in my manifesto or just like being grateful for like all the things that have happened and seeing those changes that I wrote down, that's probably been like the best thing about it, the most encouraging thing to me. Because I thought at one point in my life that like I was never going to be able to like be back to my regular self. And then from Mind Change, it just made me feel like even better about myself. So that's probably the best thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think just stopping with the self-hatred part, I think, or just the perfectionist part. Like, I'd be very comfortable with myself, but then I always thought, like, comparing yourself to, like, the best person in the room or, like, the best athlete or whoever, or, like, the person you look up to. But then when you do that, they're, like, the best in the world. So, obviously, you're going to be tearing yourself down from doing that. So, just, like, learning grace, and everyone's on their own journey. And it's about, you don't want to be, like, have the end goal at the start of the journey. Like there's a growth and just be excited for that journey. And like and that's the part that makes it exciting, you know. It's not it's not always the ending, it's the middle. It's the part that gets to the end, you know.
What would you say to anyone who's kind of heard about Mind Change or considering it and maybe like looking at potentially engaging with it? What would your recommendation be, or what would you have to say? I'm going to do that again because I jumbled 3 questions together. Thank you.
Right, I need to think about that one too. Like, I feel like we've given people advice about it before, but like, I don't know the exact, like we would have deep hour conversations about them.
Anytime I've brought up Mind Change to other people, like, I've been doing this thing called Mind Change. The best I can tell them sometimes, like, long story short, is like, it's like switching something that you have negative, like in your life that you think about a lot, and switching it, making it positive. Because negative like thoughts do like chemical things happen in your body which like affect you, and when you switch it up, it just makes you feel better, like naturally. So I don't know, I haven't really gone into like a deep talk with like people about Mind Change,
but we've told so many people about it.
I feel like I've told a lot
like
of people
Trey, Austin, like all those Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
advice about.
And I also mean, like, you know, if someone's thinking about maybe trying it out, what would you say to them?
Just do it. But you have to believe in it, because if there is doubt in it, it won't work. Like, if you don't think that something's gonna change, like in the back of your head, it's probably not gonna change. You have to believe that this thing is gonna help you. It's gonna change. That's
have an open mindset for it.
Yeah, because even if you have a little bit of doubt that, like, oh, this might not help me, oh, this might not work, it's that little bit can probably affect you. So yeah, I didn't know. Okay, so I did have doubt when it came to, like, the physical things. Like, I heard a lot about how, like, how Kent and Heather have helped people with, like, insomnia, or people with, like, major health problems. Fertility. So, like, when I heard about that, I was like, oh, this might be a little, like, suspicious. I don't know, like, but I just didn't really, that was, like, a little bit of the doubt that I had, because I was having, like, major physical problems. Like, it was the weirdest time I've ever went through. Like, I wasn't really able to eat at all. It would take me forever just to swallow food. And I was like, how is this mind change stuff gonna help me? Like, I need to go to the doctor. Like, so I had doubt when it came to that. But after that first session, like, I don't know what happened inside of me, but I just, like, I felt, like, good about myself that I even, like, went and did it. And just instantly, like, I was able to eat food after, and I was like, yo, what happened? And I was able to sleep, like, perfectly that night. And I was so
like, I felt kind of bad, because I used to make fun of my mom when she would say stuff like that.
Dude.
Like, she's like, yeah, I could help you, like, we could help moms with fertility. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I thought it was like some hippie thing.
Yeah.
I was like, but I don't know. I think it's crazy, because you see stuff like that and you're like, oh, that's only the stuff in movies. But then, like, when it happens, or like, even like in your own life, you can see, like, wow, that's crazy that you're actually healing in that way. And then it's like the power of belief and, like, faith, and that kind of all wraps together with that. So
Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to come hang out with me and talk about your experiences and share. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks.